start recording. There was a video that I saw last night that was posted here and tweeted out by Ababs, and it is a clip of Trainwrecks talking again. Okay, it was a clip of Trainwrecks talking again on the viewbotting situation on Kick. So let's go ahead and have a listen in here and see what he has to say and see what he talks about. Because again, keep in mind, he is on strike from streaming on Kick right now because of viewbots. So he is not streaming on Kick because of viewbots, and he talks about it. And he talks about it in a lot more detail right here. So let's go take a look and see what we got. Can you do some cool stuff with that perspective? Yo, you definitely could. Let's see what Trainwrecks has to say. Okay.
It has to be like either.
Well, viewbotting hurts every section, right? Because technically speaking, these viewbotters who are viewbotting in the just chatting category or other categories, they're actually manipulating discoverability algorithms, and they're taking away from small to mid-sized creators, right?
Okay. So that's quite interesting. He does go into explain a little bit more here, but basically what he's saying right here, if you didn't catch it, is that the people who are viewbotting in the just chatting category, they're taken away from very small streamers, but it's not your typical idea as to why, right? A lot of people think like, oh, well, it pushes them to the top of the category and they get a bunch of viewers from the top because they're number one in that category, right? That is something that he's kind of talking about here, but that's not really the direction he went in. So let's hear out the direction that he went in. Welcome back, Shane.
Yeah, that's all that's happening. And as you know, right, they're not actually any of the sizes that they pretend to be. Therefore, there is no trickle-down viewership after they get offline, right? They suck up the few viewers from the actual streamers that get off that have actual view counts, right? But
okay, so then he goes on. So his point is basically kind of both, right? So it's like when, let's say XQC goes live and XQC streams, when he gets off, there's this idea of trickle down viewership. Now, I will tell you right now that trickle down viewership of people going out and checking other channels on Kick because XQC got off is not a whole lot. There is not a lot of viewers there whatsoever that trickle down. There are a little bit though. There is a little bit. So the idea is that, you know, XQC, for example, goes offline and they trickle down into different categories. Now, where they typically end up going is again towards channels that are at the top of categories, right? Not very, very few people ever scroll down to the bottom of a category. They just don't, right? They don't. So that's kind of what he's talking about here a little bit, right? However, there's another part to this, is that he says that, okay, well, you know, if they do trickle down from these giant streamers, the XQCs, they go to these categories, and then these viewbotters are number one in the category. So the viewbotters end up getting those viewers that trickle down. And then when those people go offline, they're not going to go to any more channels, right? They're not going to really trickle down because again, they just aren't going to go down to these lower channels, right? They're just not. And that's kind of the idea here that he has, which I think is pretty it's pretty valid. But again, this trickle down viewership idea, it's very uncommon. I mean, you're talking like XQC with 30,000 viewers. You're talking, bro, there's probably, I would say, maybe less than 100 people who go check out other streams after XQC gets off. I mean, let's be honest, okay? There is not a lot. It is a very minuscule amount. And then the other problem is them finding someone to watch, right? And we're gonna get into this, but we'll come back to that, okay? But let's continue listening to what he has to say.
But those viewers won't go to a second or third streamer, right? Like it goes, right. It gets smaller and smaller and smaller. So it actually fucks the small to mid-sized creator for sure.
Again, it's kind of like a pyramid, right? It's kind of like a pyramid, you know, but an upside down pyramid. The biggest is at the top, and then as people keep going to other channels, it just gets less and less. But like I said, there are very few people that even trickle down off of an XQC stream, right? I mean, bro, when XQC gets offline, the viewership on Kick obviously drops like crazy, but it's not like it increases past, like, basically if you were to take the viewership of when XQC is live, subtract that viewership, and then after he stops being live, when the viewer count updates, I don't think that it would be much higher than when he went offline. And actually, I'm very curious to test that, but I don't know when XQC stopped streaming and stuff like that. But I'd actually be very curious to do the research into that idea to kind of see what is the idea there, right? From the time that he goes offline to like an hour after he goes offline, see what the viewership kind of does, right?
But obviously in the gambling section, it's even worse.
At existence.
Do you think the reason why like Kick isn't
I don't know why this is like edited too. It's really weird. I don't know why.
really doing anything about it right now is because it makes like the platform look more active, like in general?
No, the reason Kick's not doing anything about it is it's a far simpler explanation. Because you can't ban people without proof.
But here's the thing. Again, why ban? Right? Why ban? Obviously, okay, like why ban? We don't need to ban. If somebody wants to viewbot themselves, that's fine. They don't really, I mean, should they be banned? Probably, but I mean, again, you don't know if are they getting viewbotted or not, right? So why is it ban or no ban? My question would be, obviously, like, how are they identifying there being viewbots, right? How are they identifying? It has to be identified based on the number of viewers there are, right? And then you can tell, right? You can tell how many of the viewers are like questionable, right? That you could tell out of let's say 100 viewers stream, you can kind of tell like how many are pretty questionable if you look at the statistics, right? Or so Kick kind of states. I mean, that in my opinion is probably one of the most relatively easy thing to find out. So let's say that 80% of a person's viewership is suspicious. All right, it is suspicious. Why? I mean, why not just remove that viewer count, right? They should have the specific IP of viewers, right? I mean, there's gonna be like 1,000 different IPs though, right? Like, I mean, if there's 100 view bots, there's gonna be like a brand new different IP for every single bot, right? Those are like quote unquote good view bots. But if they know roughly how much percentage of the viewership is suspicious, why don't they just remove it? Maybe they would be maybe people would complain, oh, Kick is purposely removing my viewer count. They're making my viewer count less. They're doing it on purpose. They're targeting me. Maybe they want to avoid that, but I don't know. For me, maybe I'm stupid here, but in my opinion, I would think that would be better than just leaving them alone, right? Better than just leaving them alone. Right? Like, why not? Right? Why not? Kick really has no incentive to remove viewbots. Think about it. Yeah, but exactly, and that's the other point, right? That's the other point. No advertisers that encourages people to go live on Kick. Yeah, exactly, right? Like, again, it's that whole idea of, oh, it makes Kick look more popular than it actually is. So he goes on to say, like, okay, well, the explanation as to why Kick doesn't do anything about it is because, well, it's they don't really know if it's the streamer doing it or not. But again, that doesn't matter. If you can tell how much suspicious viewership there is, why not just remove that number, right? And then it's going to be like, why do they even have the idea to buy view bots? Because their suspicious viewership gets removed from the viewer count. The only thing the bad thing that would come out of it is people complaining, saying, oh, Kick is targeting me and purposely removing my viewers. But if Kick makes a statement and comes out and says, listen, this is how we're dealing with view bots, then whoop-de-doo, right? Because then it would be like, oh, well, you're view botting then. Right? Or again, if those views don't even count because they're suspicious in the first place, you wouldn't even know. The only people that would know that their viewer count isn't what it's supposed to be are the people who are view botting, right? So it's like it's wild, right? Twitch allows embeds though. People shrug. Yeah, Twitch allows embeds, which is really stupid. But again, that's a Twitch issue, right? Kick can do something different, but will Kick do anything? No, they won't. At the end of the day, unfortunately, they will not do anything. Because I mean, why would they? Right? Why would they? Why go through all this issue, all these problems to deal with it? And you know what? Eddie has made a post earlier before, right? Eddie made a post a while ago stating that their idea is to add a option that streamers can turn on or off. It's off by default. Okay. This idea is off by default, and it's up to the streamer to turn it on. But if it is on, it allows you to be able to see you know, information that may identify how many bot viewers there are, right? It kind of tells you that idea of how much suspicious viewership there is, right? And they want you to form your own opinion as a viewer. And if they are view botting, and the activity looks like they're view botting and it's very suspicious, don't watch the stream. That is Kick's solution. Okay. It's just don't watch. If you think they're view botting, don't watch their stream. But that's not the point, right? That is obviously not the point. So it's pretty bizarre, and I honestly I don't think it's gonna get fixed. I don't think it's gonna get fixed. I don't. I mean, bro, we don't even have Kick 2.0, right? Let alone trying to fix view bots. Which, I mean, again, I would love to hear the idea of why they wouldn't, or why they couldn't, or why they don't want to remove the percentage of suspicious viewership. I would love to hear their response to that, and why, based on that idea, what it would be, right? Because I'm very curious, right? But let's continue listening to what he has to say.
That's why.
Yeah.
Everyone that is doing it is playing victim. They're hiding behind the pillar of the actual victim, right? So there are a small percentage of people who are actually harassed by harassers, by stalkers, right? That view bot them to invoke a reaction, right? Unfortunately, the 90% who are view botting themselves, they go and they hide behind the pillar that a real victim hides behind and tries to fight for justice behind, right?
So again, what he's saying here is that it's hard because, oh, well, they don't know who's actually view botting, right? So how do they punish someone when they don't have enough proof that they're view botting? Because obviously if they're getting view botted and they're being targeted, then they don't want to punish them, right? But if they're doing it themselves, they want to punish them. But how do you tell, right? How do you tell, how do you tell, right?
These absolute scumbags will go behind that pillar and say, oh, it's not me, someone's doing it to me, right? So now, not only are they selfishly doing that to have plausible deniability, but they're also ruining, right? They're also ruining the ability for actual victims to get justice, right? Actual victims.
Right.
You're just turning a blind eye to it.
Again, there was another cut there. I don't know why this is like edited like this. It's really weird. There's some like information that's cut off. Really, I don't know.
Well, these streamers are stupid as hell too. They think they'll never get caught, but in reality, they're also committing fraud. Any streamer who's view botting and getting a deal on an official capacity and giving and presenting them numbers that they know are not real.
I mean, that is a great point, right? Like, again, the idea of, oh, people view botting their numbers up, and then those numbers are sold to advertisers basically and say, hey, I'm a streamer that gets, 150 average viewers, when in all reality, you don't. You have maybe 20 people or 10 people watching, right? But yet you're selling that 100 plus viewership average. And then, well, if it ever does come out to the idea of, oh, well, if the evidence does come out that it was they were view botting themselves, then that could be technically used to be sued, right? The company that partners with them could technically be sued, right? So what's the point of Kick paying big streamers if most of the viewers don't check out other channels? Headlines. The Jake Lucky, the Dexerto, this person, blah blah blah, signed to Kick. It's kind of like the main idea here. Also, again, to increase the viewership on the platform as well, right? That's the other aspect, right? Because again, if XQC and Aiden Ross weren't streaming and Neon and all that stuff, I mean, Kick would not have a lot of viewership, right? The viewership would just not be there, right?
What do you think that is? That is by definition fraud. You understand?
Yeah.
But then why do all these streamers think they can just do this shit?
Because they have plausible deniability. They know they'll never get caught unless they show it, right? Because the only way they'll get caught is if the platform bans them. They know the platform rule, right? So that's the problem.
Yeah, I mean, again, the platform, the people who do Viewbot, they know, right? They know, like, you know, they know that the platform's not going to do anything, right? Like, because you need to have enough evidence to be able to do action against it, right? But again, you don't need it if you just making a statement and say, hey, listen, we're testing a feature that removes suspicious viewership from the viewer counts. Okay, and the suspicious viewership does include viewbotting, right? And then what would happen off of that, right? What would happen off of that? Because ultimately, then it wouldn't really matter if you try to viewbot yourself, right? Because again, it's suspicious viewership, and obviously there's always a way to detect suspicious viewership. So wouldn't that be a fairly solid solution, right? Rather than trying to fix it in coding, basically, right? And like make it more difficult to viewbot. I don't know. Maybe they're just worried about the backlash, saying, "Oh, Kick is targeting me and decreasing my viewership because they think I have viewbots when in fact I don't." Or maybe there's a mistake in their system where, hey, I have 10 people typing in chat right now and they are real human beings, but yet my viewer count says 5. What's going on? That already exists, by the way. Like, what's going on with that, right? Like, it's really weird, right? There's a lot of there's a lot of different things here now, and this kind of goes back to the idea of like, well, again, people talking about, oh, well, front page stuff and all this and that, right? And well, we're gonna get into that, but I figured that we're gonna get into that right now, actually, because that's the next point. But for the Vods channel, this is where we're gonna end off here, and then we'll have that other section right after this too. So, but again, I just thought that was quite interesting, and this kind of obviously not really viewbotting, doesn't have to do with viewbotting, the next section here, but it does have to deal with you know, the viewership and why viewbotting is so bad and hurts people. Okay, because again, we're gonna talk about that a little bit here because I think it's pretty important. Okay, we're gonna talk about that a little bit. All right.